Same recording? Yep, I guess so. Okay, well, hopefully this thing will work. All right, guys. So I'm going to try to go through this as efficiently as possible. So, you know, just sit back and chill. If you guys have questions, put them in the chat. And who's responsible in this class? Tiffany's like, I'm responsible. Okay, Tiff, you get to be the moderator for the chat. So if there is a question that comes up that you can't answer, you can chime in and ask me through voice, okay?
All right.
Sound good? All right. Tiff, is your mic working today?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, just want to make sure. All right. So let's go ahead and get started, minimize this. All right, so I can't see anyone. So like I said, if you have questions, Tiffany, your moderator on this. All right, so the assignment was literally just basically everything from the neck up. So that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a couple of blend shapes. I'm gonna do the joints. And that should be good for today, all right? So for this guy, let's go ahead and do the very first thing we should be doing with all of our rigs, renaming, freezing, and deleting our history, okay? So I'm gonna go and name it head geo, hair geo, right eye geo, left eye geo, and did I give him any teeth? No, okay, so he doesn't have any teeth in there. All right.
So in the model that you gave us, Oni does have teeth, and a couple of us were trying to figure out like how to rig that and skin it.
So you have two joints that you could rig, that you could skin those two entirely. That would be the head joint and the jaw joint. Teeth would be going to their respective joints. So your top head, so your top jaw would be going with your head joint since that doesn't move. And then your bottom jaw, your lower teeth, would be going with your lower jaw joint. Anything that moves beyond that pivot point would be applicable to skin it too. But it really shouldn't flex. All right, so let's go ahead and take all of this, group it, geo group. All right. Shading, let's make sure I got X-ray joints turned on so I can see. Let's go to modeling, rigging, skeleton, create joints. Okay. So this is gonna be my neck base joint. I need a few joints in the neck in order for him to be able to flex. So we'll do that. So that'll be the top of the neck. Then I'm gonna go up and do a mid head joint. This is what a lot of stuff's gonna be branching off of, like his nose, his eyes, jaw, stuff like that. And then straight up from that is going to be the head tip joint, okay? For a guy with as floppy ears as this, probably you could also do some ear joints as well if you wanted to, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and do his jaw joint. So his jaw, if you guys kind of like feel the side of your head and you open and close your mouth, the pivot point is kind of somewhere in between your ear, like right in front of your ear, and then you feel kind of the corner of your jaw if you just go straight down from that. So probably when he opens his mouth, it's gonna be somewhere right about here. So I'm gonna go ahead and place the joint here. And then I can just go ahead and do a chin joint or jaw tip joint right there, okay? And then that's going to get plugged into the mid head joint. All right, let's go and name some of these. Let's do the character's name is Billy. So I'm gonna do Billy, neck, base, joint. Billy, neck. Let's do neck, joint 2. Billy, neck, joint 3. And then we'll do Billy, neck, joint top. And we'll do here be Billy, head, mid, joint. And if you're kind of wondering if this might end up being a null joint, it kind of is. Like this joint right here is not going to flex. It has no reason to flex. It's just going to be stuff to attach to. Okay. Billy, jaw, pivot, joint. Billy, chin, joint. Billy, head, tip, joint. All right, we can do, I'm gonna do a little nose wiggle right here. So we're gonna do 1, 2. So if he wants to wiggle his nose, he can do that. Billy, nose, base, joint. Billy, nose, tip, joint. And then parent that in, so that's again coming off that head mid joint, okay? We need some eyeballs. So the eyeballs right here. Let's go ahead and center their pivots. So you'll see the center points right about here. So I need to go and put some joints in for the eyes so they can look around. So if you guys remember last time we were talking, a way we can put joints very, very easily into the center of a piece of geometry is we can do the parent constraint or point constraint. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go and grab the eyeball as the parent, the joint is the child, and then I'm going to do constrain. And we can do either parent or point, honestly, either one. And the maintain offset is turned off. And we'll do add, and you'll see the joint pops over onto there. Now, if you remember, again, with this constraint, this is the parent, this is the child. We need to break that connection. And so I'm going to do that, go into joint 1, delete that parent constraint, and now this joint is free to move around, which we can see because it doesn't have any blue ticks next to the translate or rotate. Okay. I'm going to go and duplicate that joint. We'll move it over. Do the same thing again. Parent again. Delete. And so now these are at the center of that eyeball. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take both of these joints, and I need to actually make, remember, I like to do everything really modularly. So I'm going to go ahead and make a center eye joint, which is going to be what these two both plug into. And I'll take both of these. Actually, I'm going to duplicate them and just move them forward because I want to have a eye tip joint that I can see that where these things are going to be pointing. So I'm going to parent them into their respective hierarchies. So eye tip joint needs to go into the eye, pivot or whatever you want to call it. And then these both need to go into their eye center joint. And then that is going to go into the head center joint. So go and start naming these. It's going to be eye tip, or it's going to be left eye. Left eye tip joint. Right eye tip joint.
And to parent the joint, you press Control P or you just press P?
Put your questions in the chat, Doug. Put yourself on
Okay.
mute or I'm going to mute you. Okay? Left eye base joint. Right eye base joint. Okay, eye center joint. All right, there we go. Okay. So next I'm going to go and do is create some joints for the lips. I'm going to duplicate that down here. And then we are going to duplicate that over. And then kind of frame it to fit the lip shape a little bit. Just like that. Actually, this could probably come up just a little bit. And then these two, I'm going to group them together. So the origin or the pivot points at the origin point for the group. And then I'm going to go to duplicate special, scale -1, only one copy, duplicate. And now they're on the other side, so we're good.
Okay, so whenever I tried this, I was constantly getting things about, like it would put one of the joints in a transform.
Yeah.
What does that mean and why
It means
is that
it has a history to it. So when you do the duplicate special, that transform, like if you go through and unparent,
yes.
unparent those, you'll see the transform. It gets
Right.
applied because it was in a group that had a transformation to it. And so it's trying to deal with that transformation.
Okay, so what would be the right way? Does that mean I just wouldn't ungroup them anymore?
Well, no, they're going to get regrouped technically because they're going to be put under their respective joints.
Right, okay.
That'll get resolved.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Lip, top, center, joint. Tiffany, do you have a lot of questions coming through?
Nah, dude, you're good.
All right. Let's do left, top, lip, joint. Right, top, lip, joint, joint. Bottom, center, lip, joint. Bottom, right, lip, joint. Bottom, left, lip, joint. Okay. Woo. Going hyperspeed. All right, so since these lip joints need to move with the mouth, the bottom lips are going to obviously move with the bottom of the jaw, which means they're going to have to get parented under something that moves beyond this, either at this point, since this pivots, or something beyond that, which is going to be basically this joint. So we will take these three joints, and we can do it down here. There is precedent set for doing individual chin controllers where you actually are moving this joint by itself. So if you ever want to have someone like jut their chin out, you could do that. So it might be safer actually just to go and put that here on that pivot, just like that. And then I'm going to take these three joints, and they are going to go into that joint right there. You'll see this kind of referred to as like a star pattern or kind of like a joint explosion or something. Just because we get so many joints in here, it's just a lot to deal with. So sometimes you'll see that kind of referred to as like a star pattern of joints. You'll see this a lot with like video games too. A lot of them will do just everything based off of joints in order to get facial rigging, because it's a little bit easier for game systems or game engines to read joint placements rather than something like blend shapes. So I'm going to stop there with these three joints. When you do brow joints, it's literally the same exact thing. It's just joints, bump, 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 bump right there, and then they get put into, you know, their hierarchy either here in the mid, or you could even probably put them into the center eye joint or whatever. So that's all it really is. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get some controllers. I have my script. I don't think I have my script with me. Let me go and load it real quick. There it is. Okay. Oh, it's already loaded. Pull that command and just drop it up here. I guess I need to source it. Okay, will that work now? I just took off my extra monitor, so I'm just checking to see if it's somewhere. Maybe if it thinks it's on a separate window or something. Okay. All right, well, tell you what, I'm just gonna make my own controllers. So let's go ahead and do a neck base controller. So this will be like basically like your, so this joint right here, the neck base will be like one up from like your top spine joint. So this would be your, for this particular rig, this would be basically like your root joint or your root con. Yeah, they'll be controlling that. So let's go and do this. So let's go and grab this controller. You'll see I have a translate on it. Let's go and freeze it. Freeze transformations.
Can I pause you really quick?
Yes.
So on eyelids, would you put a joint at the top and bottom eyelid?
That is a possibility. However, the way I approach it is I do it with blend shapes. So the eyelids are controlled via blend shapes, but it is technically possible to do eyelids with joints.
Okay.
But I figure, honestly, with blend shapes, it's just a little bit easier for you guys starting out. All right. So I'm going to go and take neck base con, and then we have that offset group. Okay. So that's going to be the first one. Let's go and put this on its own layer. Center that pivot. Why is it not snapping? That's weird. Okay, there it goes. All right, sorry, that was kind of weird for a second.
I have noticed Maya gets really picky. Like if your joints are small and you're not zoomed in close enough, it doesn't want to snap.
Yeah, it also happens when you have your mesh turned on, is trying to pick on vertices sometimes. So yeah,
That makes
it can be a little
sense.
funky. All right, so just going to duplicate that group. I'm going to go and move it up to the next one. I'm going to duplicate it again. Move it up to the next one, duplicate, and move it up to the next one, okay? So there we go, making sure that each one of these is not carrying any transformations, so I think we're good. I have not nested them yet. That will be happening. And then I'm also going to go ahead and do another duplication, and that is going to go up to the head. I'm going to scale that uniformly where he's going to get himself a little Dragon Ball Z halo. And that's going to be my main head controller, okay? So I can attach other things to it if I need to. All right, yeah.
Okay, so in your demo video, you basically made like a big rectangle that encompassed the head, and that was the
Yep.
main head joint.
Yeah.
So should we be doing this where it snaps at the top of the head? Because you said that acts as like an attachment point, or should we do both?
So this is going to actually, I'm going to be moving the pivot point down to the base neck joint, so I can move the head around if I need to. But also I can just kind of use this to attach like any attributes that need to be that I need to change. Like if I want to put like blend shapes or something on here, it's just an easy place for me to control the head from. Like if I need
Gotcha.
to do any GUI or anything like that. So I
Yep.
usually like to put something there.
Thank you.
And actually, to be honest, I'm going to get rid of that one because it's going to be a redundant controller since this guy is going to be controlling this joint. So it's just a little redundant. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some look joints or some look controllers. So that is going to be right here. Is that the one you just asked? Is that the one you just asked me, Tiffany?
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, okay. All right, so for this one, the look, I'm going to center it on the eyes, freeze it. And I'm not going to really worry about doing offset groups with this guy just yet. Actually, I don't really need to worry about offset groups on the look controller because the way that it's orientated, it basically is matching the world space. So I'm not really concerned about that. But I will just change up the shape just a little bit to make it more interesting looking. So there we go. That's my look controller. Make sure we freeze those. Okay. All right. I need to move the pivot point and start actually putting these together a little bit. So I need to move the pivot point of this controller. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna hit D as in David, hold down V as in Victor, and then move it down here. So that then when I go and click on this controller, I can rotate it from this point, okay? Since that's actually the joint it's gonna be controlling. So let's do, let's go rename this. So it's gonna be head, top, con. I'm gonna name this one neck, top, con, neck, mid, con, right there. And that's neck, base, con. Okay. And then I just need to go ahead and rename the offset groups. Mid, top, and then this one is going to be head, top. This will be my look, con, right eye, con, left eye, con. Okay. Just save this real quick. Okay. So I need to go and do some lip controllers, jaw controller, and a nose controller. So let's go ahead and put that right there. And so this is going to be for the jaw. Let's just shrink this down a little bit. Just like that. And yeah, I mean, if you want to do like some special shaping, you could if you wanted to. Use a little soft select. Kind of think it was like the strap on a football helmet. Just like that. Okay. So we'll go ahead and freeze transformations on that so it's nice and even. Then I'm going to go ahead and snap the pivot point up to here for the jaw pivot. Just like that. So now it's going to move like that. I'm not worried about the orientation because my main concern is going to be this, opening and closing. I do kind of like having an orientation where I can make the jaw go side to side. So having that actually works in my favor because then I can kind of make the jaw like grit its teeth a little bit. And then having it like that, I can swing the jaw left and right. So this actually works in my favor, but you could use an offset group if you're using a character that has a jaw or something that needs to have the appropriate orientations for that controller. But for this one, it works fine where it is. Okay. So let's go ahead and do lip controllers. Let's name that first. Mouth con.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused. So can you explain again why you did not use an offset group for the jaw controller?
Because with the movement, my main concern is it to open and close like that. And so with the world space, it's perfectly fine for me to be able to do that. I also would like for him to be able to kind of rotate the jaw side to side like that. And so by having the world space orientation, it does give me that. And then I also
Gotcha.
would like for him to be able to kind of maybe like grind his teeth. And so moving it left and right like that is perfectly fine. If I'm having a character that has a differently orientated mouth or something, then I might want to do an offset. But in this situation, I don't need that. So I don't use offset groups for literally everything. I just kind of use them where I need them.
Gotcha. Okay,
This
thank
is
you.
not a case where I need them. Same thing with the eyes. I don't need an offset group. Actually, I can't. I will use one, but not for a while. So there is a reason to use it, but that's further down the line. Anyway, yeah. So let's do lips. Rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. Something like that. So this might be a place you would want to use an offset group. Again, depending on the shape of the mouth, like Louis, the alligator. So the way his mouth is orientated, it has such the lips move around the skull, and so you would want to use an offset group for that specifically because you might want to keep orientations the same for each of those controllers. So you would probably want to use that in that case. Okay.
So would it be correct in thinking that using an offset group maintains like orientation to the model?
It maintains orientation to the direction of the controller, which we
Gotcha.
line up with the model.
Okay, thank
you. Mm-hmm. Okay, is that too big? That might be a little too big. Okay. And I may actually want to bring that out just a little bit. So something like that. Freeze transformations again. And I'm actually going to go ahead and take my pivot and snap it out to here. I'm doing this because my lips do have a thickness to them. So I don't want the controllers to be kind of halfway in the lips. So by doing that with the pivot, I'm going to maintain an offset when I duplicate. So we'll go and take that. I'm going to move that over. You see how that's maintaining that offset. Same thing here. Same thing there. Okay. So each one of these is going to need to be frozen. Again, we do not want any transformations. And then we can do all three of these. Search and replace names. It's going to look for lip. And we're going to replace it with upper lip. Okay. Same thing with this one. Search and replace lip to lower lip. Okay. I want to go and take these upper lip controllers, group them, upper lip con group. You'll see why in a second. It's partly organization, and then also it kind of helps me with the rigging part, or with kind of this, basically just attaching things to the controllers. And this one's going to be lower lip con group. Okay. You got your mouth con, right eye, left eye, look. So both the right eye and left eye do need to go under the look con right here, since they need to be nested under and move with that controller. So we'll go nested under there. The mouth con, that one is going to be moving with the bottom joint, or the bottom jaw joint. So that means that the lip controllers need to move with the mouth con. So when the mouth con moves, the lips move. Okay. The upper lip, that is going to be going under the head controller. So that upper lip con group, that is going to be going under right here. Head top con. The mouth con is also going to be going under the head top con as well. So we're just kind of organizing this where everything needs to go. And the look con, I'm actually going to go and group that to itself. Look con group. That one, I'm going to wait a second on that one because this one kind of dives into a discussion on like the needs of a rig. But yeah, we'll get there. And then nose, so we need to have a nose controller of some sort. That would be pretty easy. Okay. Kind of looks like a smiley face. All right. I'm going to go and move that out to here. I want to move its pivot point back to that base joint. So when we wiggle it, we can actually wiggle from this joint versus the tip. Okay. So go and take this, and we will freeze transformations. And this guy will be named nose con. How original. All right. Let's go ahead and organize our neck controllers. So I'm going to take the offset groups and put them under their respective controller parent. So head top con group is going to be going under the neck top con. And you can see kind of the organization or how we're situating everything in here. We got a couple extra groups in here we don't really need, so we get rid of those. So you'll see how we're kind of like organizing everything. Nose con, that one will go under head top con right there. And it has some translations on it. Where are we getting that from? Thought I froze it. Maybe I didn't. Freeze transformations. Okay. Check all of our stuff. Make sure we're good.
So anytime we freeze transformations on a controller, do we also delete the history on the controller as well?
Freezing transformations does not delete the history. With the controllers, unless you're doing something major to them, like changing their curvature or changing their surface or whatever, like rebuilding, you probably shouldn't be needing or requiring the need to delete the history on them. But if you do like rebuild the surface or whatever, you're probably going to get some inputs down here that you may need to delete. But
Gotcha.
what I'm doing here, there's really not a lot on them that'll require that.
Okay, cool.
So, okay. So this guy's getting a bit of translation on here. I think probably it's being precipitated from, let's see. Yeah, it's probably from when I was putting it under the head top gun. There's probably something on there that's precipitating through. So I can go ahead and just delete, or basically just freeze those transformations real quick. Should be okay. Okay. All right, I think we're good. All right, let's go ahead and start putting our controllers in charge of joints. So I'm going to grab the first joint, I'm going to constrain it. Let's do maintain offset is turned on. We're going to do a parent, add, and just keep going up the chain. Remember, his pivot point's down here. The head top gun is down here, so I'm going to go and grab. Sorry, let's grab this one and this one and parent those together. Parent constrain them, not parent nesting. Please don't parent nest them. Then we're going to do G again, G again, and then lips. This one I definitely would be doing a parent constraint on, simply because you may be pulling the lips in and out, and you do want that rotational capacity in the lips as well. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to do our look-ats. And that's going to be an aim constraint. Maintain offset turned on. Again, grab the parent, grab the child. There we go. Test it. Okay, cool. All right. So this is going to go and have me address kind of how maybe I approach doing look-ats, because there is an argument for having a head rig or having a look-at controller for the eyeballs that can change the parentage that it follows. So in a lot of cases, what you're going to have is the head essentially, or the look-at following the head, so that when you move the head around like that, the eyes will follow. That's not always going to be the case, though. You may want to move a character's head, but you want to have the eyes locked to a center point, to an object. And so we don't really get that with this. That's kind of a difficult thing to do. So what we can do is we can actually do a set-driven key that will change who the parent is for the look-at controller. And so the way that I will do that is I do that through using the look-at, or the look-con group. And what I can do is set a parent constraint on, say the head controller, and then I can also do a parent constraint from the world controller. So it basically will allow me to switch who the parent is of the look con, so that I could have a character walking and the eyes stay with the body, which is maybe what I want. Or I can switch it to where it's looking at a character that it's talking to, but maybe the head's moving independently. So that's useful. It's useful to have there. So with this one, really simple way of setting it up is, again, we have that look con that's sitting right here. And what you'll want to do is, let's say we have a character's world con. Okay, that's his world con. So everything else is, just imagine the rest of a character sitting right here. Or maybe it's just a floating head. I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to go and take that offset group, this one right here, and I'm going to parent constrain it to that controller, the head top con. Okay, so it's going to go parent and then child, which is going to be the group right here, not the controller. So we're going to do a constrain parent, add. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is also go ahead and grab the next parent, which is going to be the world con, and then it's going to be that group again, parent again. And so you'll see that we now have 2 parents to this singular group, okay? Now you may be asking, well, why didn't I just do that to the controller? So if I did that directly to the controller and did the parent constraints to it, it gives me a really big problem. One is that I'm not going to be able to move the controller independently of itself. So basically, as soon as I move, if I move the controller and then move a head con, it's going to snap back to its original position. So you'll see here it kind of follows both of these. If it follows them both at a half measure. And so I don't, so the reason why I wouldn't do it with the controller is because I want the controller to be independent. I want to still be able to move this around, and we know it's going to move independently because it doesn't have any blue ticks right there, showing that we have an incoming connection from a parent constraint. So to me, this is a really nice way to kind of like merge the strengths of a hierarchical parenting, like nesting, and then we're also basically grouping together, or we're using the strengths of a constraint as well. So because of that, I can go in, I can use this group right here, and then I can key on and off which one of these I want. And so if I want to do that super, super easily, I can go into attributes. And we've used floats here at this point, which you could do a float, I guess, 0 to 1 if you wanted to, do the values. But honestly, I like to do the enum. So that basically just gives you 2 choices. It's just, switching on and off essentially. So I can do world. And then I can do head. All right. And I can add that on. I need a name for this. We're just going to name it look parent. And you'll see this right here. So if we go and click, you'll see I'll get a little drop down, and I can switch who I want this to go parented to. And this is the same setup I'll use for like having objects like parented to different parts of a body. So if I want a sword parented to like 2 hands or 1 hand or the other hand, or maybe to a scabbard or something, I can use it to do that. So super quickly, this will be animation editors. Let's go to animation key.
Real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
So is enum like a straightforward drop-down menu?
Yeah. Yeah, precisely. Where in the hell did my stuff go? All right, I do need that menu, but it thinks I have 2 things. Let me pause the video real quick. Okay, so my driver is going to be my look con. My driven is going to be the parent constraint right here. It's going to be on the look con group. And so you'll see here, these 2 values are going to be what's driven, and then look parent is going to be the driver. Okay. So right now it's set to head, which means the parent constraint, I need to make sure the value is set fully to head. So world needs to be 0. Key. And I'm going to reverse it. Go to world. And I'm going to reverse my values. And you're going to freaking love this. It's great. Maybe you won't. I don't know. It's up to you. Okay. So what that means is the look con is going to follow the world controller and not follow the head, but then I can switch it and it will follow the head. Ooh, that's cool. All right. Did you ever get it? Yeah, you got worked. Okay. So what it brings us to is going to be skin binding. And someone asked me, does it really matter if you have skin binding or blend shapes? Which one do you do first? It doesn't really matter because ideally it kind of just comes down to input order on a mesh, like what gets evaluated first, because you'll have like blend shapes, you'll have skin clusters, you'll have constraints, stuff like that that like gets evaluated, and like whatever comes first is what gets evaluated first, and that can cause like deformation, or that does cause deformations. So generally you want blend shapes to be like the first thing that gets evaluated, and the skin cluster comes next. But if you mess it up, you can always change it. Like it's really easy to change in the inputs for a mesh, but it doesn't particularly matter. But my general workflow is I usually will probably go in and do my weight painting or do my mesh, my skinning mesh first, and then I'll do my blend shapes after that. So having said that, let's go and do it. So I'm really just going to grab the joints that I need. I don't need everything to be added in. Okay. Okay, so select a joint, closest distance works. Just go and bind skin. Take a look at it. There we go, that works. Yep, it's gonna look awful. Bleh. I mean, you know, it's like great. Okay, I got that. Okay, so pretty basic. You guys can weight paint from here. So let's go and do some blend shapes. All right, so my old method was copy the head a whole bunch to where you have like a wall of heads over here, which worked. I did that for a long time and could still keep doing it. But I think honestly the shape editor does it just as well. So what you can do is we're going to go under Windows, Animation Editor, Shape Editor. And I'm going to go ahead and add a blend shape right here. I'm going to rename it face. And then on here with the mesh selected, I'm going to go and do add target. Okay. So this target is called head geo1. So we can do, let's do a blink. Turn my symmetry on. So I'm just going to go and grab some geometry. It doesn't really matter how you get the eyes to close, just kind of just try to sculpt it as best you can. So I'm kind of using that to get me, you know, halfway there. You see it's really overshooting pretty badly right there. So we can go through and fix that. Okay. I'm gonna go into my soft select mode. You'll see it's kind of picking up influence down here on soft select, and I don't really want that. So I'm gonna go to soft select, change it from volume to surface, and you'll see it gets rid of that because it's just following the surface for the fall off, which is good. That's really just what I want. So just try to get the eyes just down, make them look natural. You know, the eyelids should meet. The brows, the skin around the brow will probably come down a little bit. Honestly, if you just kind of lay your hand on your face when you're making like facial expressions, you kind of feel like what moves when you just do, you know, like do a blink or something, or do a facial expression. So something like that. Can slide it back and forth, see how it moves. Oh, it looks pretty good actually. Move that down just a little bit. Move that down. Cheeks will probably move up just a little bit. Something like that. So you'll see the movement there. Okay. And that's a blend shape. I mean, that's, you guys can see a comparison to the video. You know, it's the same approach. We're just sculpting the shape. But here, you know, we don't have all the extra heads. We don't have to add it back in later. It's just right here. It's already done. So it's a much simpler approach, I feel, than what I've had before. It's a little rocky right through here. So honestly, I'm probably going to go in and let's just kind of smooth it out just a tiny bit. Mesh tools, sculpting, smooth. And brush size down. There we go. I don't know why the brush always comes out so large. All right, strength, take that down to like 30. Just very gently, I'm just gonna go in and kind of smooth this out just a little bit, since it kind of jankifies my mesh just a tiny bit. So something like that. I don't even know if jankify is a word. Maybe it's not, I don't know. It is now. Something like that. All right. Beautiful. I like it. It looks sleepy. All right. That's it. So with my blend shapes, I always do a left and a right. So I'm going to right click and duplicate. I'll name this one blink left, blink right. And then we can kind of just go in and paint the influence for the blend shapes. And that's going to be under rigging, deform, paint weights, blend shapes. And then we can go under blink left and blink right and paint out the influence as we needed to. So blink left is going to be this size, so it means I don't want the right eye to be blinking. Actually, just go ahead and activate. Okay. Okay, looks good. And then we'll switch over to blink right. That's going to be this one. Blink left, blink right. Check it. Looks good. Now look and see if there's any movement over here on the other side. Happy with that. All right, cool. We got 2 blinks. Click edit to disable editing on that target. And there you go. You got 2 blend shapes. All right, so we need to go and add a controller. Well, in order to control the blinking, what I do is I just do attributes on the look controller. But you could do like a geometric controller if you wanted to. You know, it's just something to kind of control the blinking if you want to do like a head GUI. But for this one, it's just really simple just to add in a blink attribute. So we'll do blink L blink. That's going to be a float. It's going to be 0. We can do to 10. Add R blink 0, 10. Here we go. And this is going to be done through set-driven keys. So I don't have set-driven keys. There it is. Okay, cool. All right, so in order to select it, I'm going to select on the mesh. I'm going to go to the name of the blend shape, which is this one right here. That's going to be my driven. Let's see. My driver is going to be the look con right here. So left blink, right blink. So face, left blink. So I'm just going to select both of these. And let's do minimum values. Turn both of these off in the shape editor. And I'm going to go ahead and key. So at a value of 0, the eyes will be open. And I'm going to do right blink, blink right. So switch basically which ones I'm selecting and key that again. Then I'm going to go to my controller. Select both of these to be 10. So their maximum value. And then I want to move both of these up, both of the blend shapes up in the drivers right here under the shape editor. And then again, I'm going to key them once more. Okay, so That's all we gotta do. Now when I go and grab these two attributes, middle mouse drag them, you'll see the values change, and it'll also keys into right here with the shape editor. Now we can blink our eyes. There you go. So with the facial, with the rest of the facial GUI, so like with the lips, you know, the blend shapes of the lips, you know, the wide, the smile, the frown, the smooch, those would be set driven keyed to actual controllers. And a lot of times what I'll do is I will set, let's say, a controller that sits on the side of the face right here. And then what I'll do is I'll freeze transformations. And then when I move it up like one value or, you know, down to another value, it'll be, you know, it'll activate a smooch, or it'll activate a wide, or it'll activate a smile and a frown. And then a lot of times I will do basically an X and a Y movement. So the wide and smooch are two extremes. And then the smile and the frown are two other extremes. And they're both keyed to kind of go from one to the other. So that, because you can't really frown and smile at the same time, I suppose. So that's kind of my thought process with that. And so then you can kind of start mixing up some of these blend shapes a little bit. So you end up getting kind of a free-floating, free-form controller that can control 4 different blend shapes at once really easily. Now, if you'll look at like when I was talking last week with the examples I was showing you, you'll notice that it was set within a box, kind of something like this, and I had limiters to where I couldn't exceed the extent of the box that it was in. And so those were, you know, the limiting that we talked about first week of rigging. I just set those values, and that coincidentally would also be the full activation value of the set-driven key for that blend shape. So if I moved it all the way up to the box, it would do full smile, full frown, full smooch, full wide. And then anything in between will be a blending of those 4. So that's pretty much it. Okay. So aside from, you know, just doing average, you know, weight painting on this, that's really it. Like this is the face rig in all its glory. It's not too complicated. You know, the blend shapes are pretty straightforward. Got to make sure you guys definitely go in and group all your stuff together properly. So, you know, make sure you have like your con group, joint group, and your geo group. And that all, of course, goes together into your Billy chart group. And so since I do have WorldCon, put the neck offset group under that. Now, since I have this parent constrained to this one, I'm not going to put the LookCon group under the WorldCon. Simply because if I did that, and let me just do it now and I'll show you, I'm going to get I would be getting a double movement essentially. So let me do, it's probably set to head right now.
We do have some questions.
Okay, I'm almost done, and I'll start addressing those questions. So I actually would be getting a bit of a double constraint. So usually just to avoid that, I will make sure I not put that under the WorldCon just to kind of keep it safe, but it'll be kind of floating off by itself in the con group. Okay. All right, so that is the that's the head rig, and yeah. So let's go and take a look. I'm going to stop the video and